Well, that eyewitness portal has received a level of success where government action is being felt, and this can be attributed to the constant contribution by our viewers, that's you, and our commitment at Channels Television to ensure your concerns are aired. Tonight, our eyewitness report focuses on the government's response, which in most cases have been positive. The outcome of one of those cases in this report will be keenly watched, as it has to do with police brutality. Our eyewitness correspondent, Oluwashoni Bare, reports.
The Eyewitness Reports today looks at the responsiveness of government in Nigeria to issues that affect the society they are responsible for. And we have 3 cases to present on this. The first is from Kaduna State in the northwestern section of the country, where in August last year, a flood caused this bridge to collapse, leading to the unfortunate death of a 7-year-old girl. After much protest by the community, the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FERMA, stepped up and reconstructed the bridge with a proper drainage system. The next, however, is not one with that same success story. On the 16th of February 2015, this case of indiscriminate refuse dumping in the Igodo axis of Lagos State, southwest Nigeria was aired. The next day, the Lagos Waste Management Authority contacted the eyewitness crew for details and promptly visited the site with a promise to clear the refuse. But 15 days later, nothing has been done. The technology involved in reconstructing a bridge and clearing waste are miles apart. So what or who is to be blamed for this delay? Still in Lagos, the third case is that of justice. On the 19th of February, the eyewitness crew received with shock this picture of Efio Diaze, who suffered these injuries from the hands of people whose responsibility it is to serve and protect: the police. A drive to his residence in the Lekki Ajah area of the state, we meet a man who, beyond the injuries, is left with a sense of loss of dignity. He takes us to the scene of the incident, where he tearfully narrates the event.
So I got up and he held my shirt like this, and was dragging me towards the car, that is towards the driver's seat. And because he was moving, and the way he held it, there was no way or even time for me to try to pull the shirt. So I was literally being pulled by the car and him. And then when he left this sandy path and got to he now increased the speed. That's not a very nice thought.
Reacting to the incident, the public relations officer for the police, Ken Nwonsu, says the matter is not going to be swept under the carpet, assuring that the victim will be taken care of.
Policemen should be professional in their relationship with members of the public. We have a duty to protect them, and we cannot protect them without handling them in a very fair manner. At the end of the investigation, if the police officer is found liable, he will be adequately sanctioned. That I can assure you.
A responsive government is a working government, and the Channels Eyewitness platform will always ensure that those you choose to be responsible for you live up to that promise. Oluwashoni Bare, Channels Television News.
Well, do remember that you too can report happenings around you. We move on to legal matters, where the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja, presided over by Justice Latifa Okunu, has adjourned to March the 6th, ruling on whether or not the coroner is jurisdict. Now, the judge, who was supposed to rule today on the prohibition suit initiated by the registered trustees of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, alongside its founder, Prophet Pt.2 Joshua, raised the issue of whether or not the coroner can be sued. The judge stated that the outstanding issue that needed to be clarified before she can give her ruling on the matter must be addressed by counsel to the suit. She further told the counsel to file their processes on the issue within 2 days. Meanwhile, at the synagogue coroner's inquest ongoing at the court, the chief security officer of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, Sunday Okoji, while being cross-examined by counsel to the Lagos state government, gave his testimony as to whether or not the statutory responders were at the crash site all through the period of rescue. According to him, the responders left the crash site at night and came back the next day, but the CCTV footage provided by the church showed otherwise. The Executive Secretary of the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, Mr. Farouk Ahmed, says the scarcity of petrol is due to the inability of petroleum marketers to get letters of credit from commercial banks to enable them import fuel. The PPPRA Executive Secretary gave the explanation at a budget defense session in the Senate in response to questions from lawmakers on the appearance of long queues at petrol stations across the country. Our correspondent Linda Akigbe reports.
This is the picture of what you see when you drive or walk past any petrol station in the Federal Capital Territory. The situation has been getting steadily worse by the day in the FCT as the fuel queues get longer. Government blames the queues on panic buying. However, at a budget defense session in the Senate, the Executive Secretary of the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, explains the cause of a long fuel queues.
Was actually the result of issues we had with the commercial banks, where they were unable to open letters of credit for marketers to import products, especially PMS. The delays in opening of LCs make it difficult for the cargoes that have been earlier programmed to be delivered to arrive really within the delivery windows.
But he says the federal government is taking steps to remedy the situation.
The banks are opening letters of credit because they got the direction now. Policy is very clear. The Honorable Minister of Finance, the coordinator of the economy, as well as DMO, NMPC, and PPPRA have been working very closely to ensure that all the outstanding invoices have been paid.
While defending the budget of the PPPRA, the Executive Secretary says the total budget for the agency for 2015 is 7.798 billion naira, with 63 million for capital expenditure, 48 million for overhead, and 7.7 million for personnel. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, was scheduled to defend its budget before the Senate Committee on Downstream, but the organization did not show up for the session.
He will under no circumstances tolerate this kind of disrespect and insolence from NNPC. So please, there should be a very strong warning to NNPC never to repeat this kind of behavior before this committee.
The committee chairman asked the clerk to issue another invitation to the NNPC, the heads of the 3 refineries, and the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, to appear before the committee unfailingly on Thursday, March 5th. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
To security matters now, the U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on 3 individuals believed to be members of Iran-backed Hezbollah. The 3 individuals, Mustafa Fawaz, Fawzi Fawaz, and Abdallah Tahini, all born in Lebanon but resident in Nigeria, are accused of being part of the group's Foreign Relations Department in Abuja. In 2013, the 3 men were part of a 4-man group arrested by the Nigerian authorities and accused of working with Hezbollah after they uncovered an armory in Kano they claimed belonged to the organization. The weapons were allegedly intended to be used in an attack against Israeli and Western interests. The Fawaz brothers, who have citizenship in Lebanon, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone, own Amigo Supermarket and Wonderland Amusement Park and Resort in Nigeria. But according to the statement announcing U.S. sanctions, they are running a Hezbollah front. According to the U.S. Treasury, Tahini's responsibilities include recruiting and supporting Hezbollah's African networks. The U.S. Treasury statement did not mention any link or conflict between the Shiite Hezbollah branch and Boko Haram, which is most active in Nigeria's northern states, Chad, Niger, and northern Cameroon. Hezbollah has operated in at least 45 nations, 11 of them are in Africa. The group has been designated a terrorist group by the US, while the European Union and the United Nations consider only the group's armed wing, not its political branch, a terrorist organization. It's also considered to be one of the richest groups on the US terror list, with an estimated $500 million in financial assets. In the meantime, as part of the ongoing war against the Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast, the Nigerian Army, in conjunction with the British Military Advisory and Training Team, has been brainstorming on ways to completely root out the sect members from the country. At a session held at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, Kaduna State, Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima, stressed the need for continuous training and retraining of Army personnel to tackle the security challenges facing the nation.
They are the first line of defense for a country in conflict and have assembled here to strategize on how best to tackle the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria's northeast and parts of Cameroon. Numbering over 100, they are composed of commanding officers and brigade commanders. Already, they have identified a three-pronged approach towards accomplishing their long-term objective: intelligence and analysis, operational capacity building, and force sustainment.
The ongoing counter-terrorism campaign in the Northeast, coupled with the awakening of Cameroon, Chad, and Niger forces, has boosted our successes, leading to the liberation of more communities hitherto under the siege of Boko Haram terrorists. The Nigerian Army also continue to work with relevant bodies to ensure that the conduct of our personnel is in line with international best practices. Despite these number of achievements, it is imperative to hold seminars such as this to map out ways to further exploit on these gains.
For over 35 years now, the British Military Advisory and Training Team has assisted Nigeria in capacity building of its military forces in the areas of tactics, and efforts they intend to continue and win the war against insurgents.
You will have discovered that the world has a very challenging problem at the moment in security terms, and the more that we can learn from each other, the better. So the means of doing that will vary between spending time with our soldiers engaging on the ground, but also an event like this where we get senior people together and we can discuss and share ideas so that we can improve our understanding and thinking.
For the Army, trainings such as this will go a long way in strengthening the capacity of the forces and also develop their mental and physical well-being for the ultimate goal of protecting the sovereignty of a country at war. Gimba Umar, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, the Securities and Exchange Commission partners the ICPC to tackle corruption in the capital market. That will be on Business News. Join us again.